Okay, and welcome back. Welcome back to our second video on the secrets of first-person shooters. Well, if you recall, we had our little projectile here, which was simply a capsule, and we had our target, which was a cube, and then we have our shooter or launcher, which is the cylinder. And we sort of painted them with different earthly colors just to tell them apart. So what I want to do now is I want to make it so that this projectile here, this little guy, can go like that. And I'm going to do that with program code. And so the way I do that is I come down here and I'm going, wait, I better show you. I'm sorry, let me scooch this down here. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a new file, a new coding file called the projectile. And of course the way you do that is you right click and you put create, and then you go on JavaScript and you click on that, and then you can make your new file. I don't want to go through doing it, but I always start my name with an underscore. So to see what it looks like, I'm going to double click and open the dude and then come into here. Wait a minute, I got to bring these windows up so that you can see them. And here is my code for whatever that word. What I have to do is I have to be sure to make a rigid body of the projectile. Well, we haven't done that yet, but I'll do that. That's this dude right here. And then you may want to remove gravity from the projectile. You'll see what I mean by that and the reason why you may want to. So the first thing I want to do is I want to declare a variable which I have called power, and it's of data type float. And that's going to be how much power the projectile has. And then in function start, I'm going to put rigid body dot add force, because the projectile is going to be a rigid body, and I'm going to put this code into the projectile. I'm going to add a force, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to transform up times whatever power I give it. Now you might say, wait a minute, what's transform up? Well, I have transform up, I have transform right, and I have transform dot forward, transform dot up, transform dot right, and transform dot forward. This is like X, Y, and Z. The X is to the right, the Y is up, and the Z is forward. Okay, yeah, I think I got that right. So anyway, I want to go ahead and save this code. And when I save the code, I want to go ahead and put it into the capsule right here. So I'm just going to take the code and drag it into the capsule. And then I'm going to click on the capsule and make sure that the code is there. So if I come over here and I see there's the projectile script. Notice the power is set to 0. Well, I can change that power from here. Let's say I make it 100, for example. Press enter. That allows me to give force to the projectile, to vary it. And we'll see why that's important when we're first developing this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and look at my projectile. And in my projectile, what I have, let me scooch up a little bit more. You see where it says local here? And I click on that. And now, now these are the global coordinates, and these are the local coordinates. What I want are the local coordinates for the projectile. And I see that the X is this way, and the Y is this way, and the Z or Z is looking right at me. I wanted to go along the Y-axis. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do now. Watch. I click on it. Watch what happens. Nothing. And the reason why nothing happens is because I haven't made it a rigid body. So I'm going to come up here to I'm going to make sure I selected my capsule, come up here to component, which is right here, come here to physics, and come here to click on rigid body. Okay? Now, when I do that, this is now a rigid body, and I can look down here and see that it is. This has now been added, this component. If you notice, by default, use gravity is checked. Now, let's see what that does if I use the gravity. I'm going to come up here and start it. Here we go. And it goes boink. It did go forward, but it fell down. and it fell down too quickly. So I don't want to use gravity for a bullet like this that's, say, coming out of a gun. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to uncheck use gravity. And so I come back up here, and now let's try it again and see what happens. Here we go. The boom, and there it goes. See, it's a little bit slow because of that much force, but by golly, it acts like a bullet, and a good projectile should. And it's going in the direction in which I pointed it. That's important. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to put this here and rotate it. Let me, I'm sorry, I meant to rotate it this way. Let me rotate it up like that. Okay, now it should go up this way and a little bit away from me. Let me turn it this way. Okay, and then, so let's see. See, the axes are not pointing up. Let's see what it does now. Boing, and that's what I want it to do. I want it to go in the direction in which the projectile is pointing. And there it goes. It goes against the wall there. So you might say, well, when is it that I would want to use gravity? You would probably want to use gravity if you were shooting a cannonball out of a cannon. And you would really need to give it a lot of power. And you can play around with the amount of power that you give it right down here. And for example, let me give it a power of 500. And let's see what happens now when I go ahead and run it. Let's see what happens to my projectile now. Okay, here we go. The boom. Boing. Okay, so man, it had a lot of force behind it. So anyway, what we've learned to do is we've learned one of the most important steps is to use local coordinates to take our projectile and make a rigid body out of it, and then go ahead and use that code that we did for the projectile, which is this guy right here. And we keep this a variable float, a global variable, so we can change it and use this code right here, and just remember what the up, right, and forward mean. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.